like I'm like out at every ball or anything. I kind of keep to myself. I'll say hi and all that stuff, but I like to stay in the background. I come out, I get my life and move on. It's an extracurricular activity that I sometimes take very seriously. I take it serious if I'm out there and I'm going to battle and I'm going to give my 110%, and I put my coins out on the set. I'm on time. I'm ready. I'm prepared. And then you got people who don't know what they're looking at, or they don't give you the common courtesy of looking at you and watching you perform.
Wow.
If you don't see it, and it's not just me, I've seen it do it to so many people, and I've gotten so irritated that I've said something to the judges, and these are not even my house members. Now, granted, I've taught most of Chicago and the vast majority of the Midwest how to vogue, how to do runway. Yes, I got something to say. Pay these babies the attention they deserve. And stop being so favored because that's your house member. But you know that child shouldn't have walked before they stepped on the runway. Chop that hoe. Not that hoe, but that child. I'm sorry, but it's just stuff like that that just really drives me insane, because it's like, I understand the shade. There's going to be some level of shade, but you don't let everybody through. Not everybody is ready to make it through.
Right.
If they're walking in the big boy categories and they're coming down late, you know they're late within 5 steps.
Wow.
Chop them and let them know why they were chopped. Make them earn it.
Right. Just
because you don't want to go to war, but just make sure. Come on, stop that.
Have a
That's why a lot of the towns not walking.
Description of why you chopped the person, at least.
Hmm?
You know, have some.
There's not many people I see do that. A lot of times I see chopping just indiscriminately. I'm like, this is just insane. Well, I'm watching people get through, and they're going to the last battle, and I'm like, y'all let this go through. Y'all let this performance go through. Come on, people, stop. Stop.
Definitely.
Do your house the service do the house and justice the service that it deserves. Teach your kids how to vote. Teach your kids how to get their categories together so that they're not chopped. It's not everybody's going to win the balls. Not everybody's going to win every single ball. I don't care what house you're in. Strive for your 10. The trophy, I've done it before. I used to have trophies. I used to come to some of these events, and I had this suitcase that I would carry with me. It was like a little wheel suitcase with a red one, then it was a blue one, and I had a little green bag as well. I had any prop that you could possibly need for a category. Whether it was in my house or somebody else's, I spent a lot of time in those bathrooms helping those kids get together. You can check it out, check it back in.
Wow.
Get your kids together. That's not somebody else's responsibility.
Wow.
And do yourself. Because I come from a school where you had to have a trophy before you even got into a house. You had to have one before you got into a house. You didn't have virgin categories. You worked your ass off. I think that's part of the difference between the generations. Things have gotten so lax because people are focusing too much more now on ballroom politics as opposed to really getting these kids prepared and ready. And how to take a chop gracefully. Hey, I probably shouldn't say it. Sometimes I'm not going to be the most graceful person. I've been known to throw a table over. I am too many things, I know. But prepare your kids. They're the representation of your house. They are representing your name.
Right.
Really? I don't get it. But, I see that there's some really nice things that are starting to happen. I see that everybody's trying to organize. I think that's wonderful. I think that with that organization, there's going to be a lot of bumps. There's going to be a lot of hiccups. I think that they need to really sit down and have a fair body across the board in terms of the status thing. There really needs to be a fair way of doing this. And you just don't sit on the panel because you have XYZ status or you've been around for forever. If you're not active, you're not traveling, you don't need to be on that board. If it's just going to be regional, those people need to be out and be seen. Not necessarily on a judges panel because, hey, come on, let's be real. Some people don't know beyond one or two categories what it calls for. I doubt very seriously if there's too many people that can give me all 5 elements that they're supposed to have for any bow category. Or know what to really look for runway. It's not just your effect. These kids are getting through just on their effect, not the fact that they can walk or not walk. It's about selling the garment. Now it's about throwing the shade. And whose outfit is the cutest.
Or whose house threw the best ball.
Who's the best dick? Let's see, you think we want to go there.
We're going to censor that out. You remember your first time walking a ball?
Yeah.
Please share your experience.
No, not that one. I'll pick something else. Because what happened was I got pushed out. You know, we had just formed a house. It was called the House of Grace. And I was getting my hair braided at the function. I didn't know it was a ball. And they called the category. The house mother said, stand up. I stood up. And I thought I was like changing my position to get my hair, finished getting my hair re-braided because they just took it out. Mm-hmm. And I got pushed. They said, bring it on down, bring it on down, bring it on down.
Wow.
But
I don't know how to be scary. That had to be scary, you know?
I had no clue what was going on. And I hadn't walked the ball again until maybe like 6 or 7 years later. And then I was walking Vogue Performance in New Way.
Wow.
And at the same time, I would walk, it just depends, I would walk runway and labels. But for us, it was like because we always ended up having to compete with each other, it was kind of hard. It was like I didn't want to compete against Aaron. I didn't want to compete against Kenny. I didn't want to compete against Tyrone. But I did. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, you know, it wasn't like we were all cutthroat against each other. It just wasn't, you know, that. I mean, but it's not like I didn't compete against him. I've beaten Tyrone. Aaron's beaten Tyrone. I think we're the only two that can actually honestly say that we have beaten him. And yes, Tyrone was just that good. Tyrone was sickening.
Wow. Shout out to Tyrone, by the way.
Yes, when he rest in peace. That was our diva. That bitch carried. And he was a character. He was a sweetheart. But, you know, it's just so much stuff that goes into that's a part of the Midwest history that gets left out. Like the things that we did or had to go through and, you know, going to the club or voguing places and stuff like that. We didn't have it as easy as they had it here. I mean, have it now where you just go to a club and it was expected. No. I remember out in Detroit, those kids attacked in terms of, when I say stretch, those bitches had stretch for days. 4 days. They were pulling tricks I had never seen, but when I got home, I got it right together and was ready again. They started coming down to Chicago. We would have little mock battles over at a club called Bistro Shoes. Thursday $8 drink night. Oh hell, yes. Moment of silence. They get it too.
I know, that's right.
Straightening battles. Oh my God. And we had fun. We weren't trying to beat each other up. We weren't trying to like throw shade at each other because it was a small little community. And to be honest, the first clubs that really let our hair down in Vogue were one was a semi-Latin club called Normandy's, which we argued about today. And they threw one of the first balls, but we only count the balls that were thrown by houses to be pioneering starting because like they were trying to go little ratchet balls and stuff like that, but a lot of them didn't make it through. The balls never happened. And the other stuff was like Madonna type video extravaganza thingies where they have like one or two categories, so we don't count those either. But Normandy and Bistro, that's where we carried. Those were the two clubs. And then there was another place called Augie CK's. And, we had some cute battles in Augie CK's. That was a little bar that was where I actually remember having a drink. Spilled on me intentionally. Along with maybe Clubhouse. It just had similar things happen at Clubhouse. And we've all experienced different things. But in terms of where it was going on, I know I'm jumping all over the place. I apologize for that. But those were the two main clubs. I mean, Aaron and I also would vogue and battle and do things over at a place called Roscoe's down in Halstead in Boys Town, where we, we just didn't have a lot. The community really wasn't that big. And then it was, I think it was Carol's, where towards the end of the night, where all the trolls would move forward because they were trying to have the little boys, the young guys that were coming in there, and the hustlers and the drags were up front. Well, that's all they were. And they would be up front. So towards the end of the night, the last hour of the night, we would all show up there, and we would just go in the back room, little dance floor area that nobody else was at, and they would just have I think it was like a tape recorded track or something playing, to change the music every so often. I don't believe there was a real DJ up in the I'm just gonna say. And we got our lives. And there was outside of the ones that you've probably had on a show like Aaron, Kenny, myself, Big Thomas, Tyrone. I do remember Percy being there. I actually battled him one time there, which was really quite interesting. We had a lot of fun. And there was a couple of other people, Raven, who started walking balls, and for face and body, she was setting the girls. She was letting them have it, too. So outside of that, and then shortly thereafter, maybe a couple of years later, we started getting people coming in from, New York. David Ian, some of the guys came in, South Africa, a couple of those kids came down. Anytime somebody came into Chicago that threw their hands up in any type of vogue manner, trust me, you were assaulted. It was just like,
wow.
One person would see you, and we all would hang out and stuff, go to clubs. We'd be on our pagers and then run to the payphone and call each other up at a number and shit. We just show up. And, we start battling people. If somebody would throw their hands up, I would get a call. I remember one time, one of the kids came in from New York at a club called Pangea, which wasn't around long. And I got a call. I was like, I'm already there. I'll just call them. Yeah, we did it. You going back out there? Okay, I'll see you there. And that's how you just sitting out walking to Chicago and think that you were just going to run it like that. No, there was a whole bunch of thirsty bunnies that was just really going to attack you, and no shade.
Wow.
No shade. We had a lot of fun. It wasn't like it was, like it is now. But the one thing that Chicago and the Midwest didn't know was that Vogue, the way voguing had started, from my experience, and Peter Rabbit and down at the pier, those kids that were voting against each other, a lot of them had grudges.
Right.
So that's where, from my point of view, where the locking type thing came in. So they would cut you off in that movement that they're doing, and the voguing that they were doing was more pose-based, and it was not like it is now. There was a true distinction between the Latino form of voguing that was being done and the African-American and everybody else. It was different. The styles were different. From what I remember, I'm not going to sit and say I'm going to give you New York history, because I'm quite sure I got a phone call and a text message and all other stuff from Muhammad and a few other people trying to let me have it. And we're going through a Kiki session, so I'm getting it out there now. But from my memory, it was a little bit different, and it started to evolve differently. Wow. Because what they do as old way now, it's not completely different, but it's a far cry from what was going on. That's what I remember it and what I was exposed to. Very different.
Wow.
I mean, come on, realistically think about it. When you when they put Old Way on a category or New Way on a category sheet, and New Way is almost never on the sheets anymore.